Wow, wow, wow. The Indiana Fever have traded Melissa Smith and got Sophie Cunningham in a three-way trade.
Remember when the Indiana Fever could barely muster 5 wins just 2 seasons ago? Everything changed almost overnight. Their generational talent, Caitlin Clark, demanded serious reinforcements, and the new front office responded with a thunderous statement.
Quick thoughts on the $80 million Fever facility and Stephanie White being like, we're going to be aggressive in free agency, and massive names who are available. And I think, this is my bold prediction, the Indiana Fever are going to be playing for the WNBA title next year. Wow. They have their cornerstone pieces under rookie contracts.
In a jaw-dropping move that rattled the entire WNBA, Indiana didn't just sign 1 or 2 stars, they scooped up 3. This isn't some minor rebuild, it's a full-scale basketball revolution thrusting the Fever straight into the title conversation. Want the inside scoop on these game changers and how they fit into Indiana's grand plan? This is more than a simple roster upgrade. It's a complete overhaul that's left everyone else scrambling. Ready to start? Let's get to it.
So the Indiana Fever just traded Melissa Smith, and they got Sophie Cunningham.
Let's take a step back to when the Fever were the punchline of the WNBA. Just 2 seasons ago, they bottomed out with a bleak 5-win record. Fans resigned themselves to yet another cycle of disappointment. Then, almost overnight, everything changed. The front office got proactive, snapping up talent and igniting a spark that no one saw coming.
We felt this way to begin with, that the Fever were going to be a destination because you have Caitlin Clark, you have Aaliyah Boston, and you have a really, really young team. And I think now with Steph White, who is hands down one of the best coaches in the league, and we saw that with Connecticut, even though they fell a little bit short. I think that, this is going to be big.
Their first bold move was drafting Aaliyah Boston in 2023, a generational center by any measure. Yet even with her immense talent, the Fever ended that year at 13-win 27-loss record. Then came the 2024 draft and a second stroke of genius, selecting Caitlin Clark, a phenom who rattled the WNBA from day one. Lighting up the floor with 19.2 points per game while shattering 62 records, Clark proved herself a franchise-altering star. But even a once-in-a-lifetime player like her couldn't carry the load solo. She needed reinforcements.
Are you in a position where you can add some pieces?
Yes, we are. We're definitely in a position. And I would think that if you are a smart basketball player and you watch the way she plays, you would want to play with her.
That's where the Fever's budding trio, Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Lexi Hull, stepped up. Their chemistry took hold, and suddenly Indiana was no longer a guaranteed win for visiting teams. These up-and-comers fought their way to a 2020 record, pulling off the franchise's first playoff berth in nearly a decade. Still, Caitlin Clark wasn't satisfied. She recognized the Fever's untapped potential, convinced that they could rise above merely being competitive.
Excited. I think, obviously our goal of reaching the playoffs last year we accomplished, but now, we want to be a championship contender. I think we're putting in the pieces to be able to do that, hopefully add some free agents, and you can just feel the excitement in the whole organization and in the city, our fans. So honestly, I can't wait to get back out there. I wish we had a game tomorrow, honestly.
Yeah. Clark took a direct approach. She marched into the new front office, helmed by President Kelly Krauskopf and GM Amber Cox, and insisted the team secure top-tier free agents. They didn't just listen, they went all in. Their 4 main goals this offseason were crystal clear. First, keep Kelsey Mitchell in the fold, no matter what, because she remains the engine of the squad. Second, add versatile wings who can defend and knock down shots, giving Clark and Mitchell the support they need. Third, strengthen the forward rotation with athletes who can protect the rim and run the break. Lastly, find a capable backup guard so neither Clark nor Mitchell has to shoulder the entire playmaking load.
Building quality depth is going to be important. When you have a core 3 like we have, surrounding them with players who are going to, fill the roles, certainly, first and foremost, who are going to embrace the roles, secondly, and who give us the best opportunities for success by complementing what they do really, really well.
With those plans in motion, the Fever seemed ready to rattle the entire league. Forget just making the playoffs. They're gunning for a title. Clark has already proven she can pile up assists like a veteran, and the roster is quickly taking shape around her. So, who are the 3 game changers now donning Fever jerseys? Let's start with the jaw-dropping signing that made every WNBA insider sit up and stare. Natasha Howard, a 3-time champion, All-Star, and Defensive Player of the Year, all in one package.
This is the most improved team from the beginning of the season to the end of the season in terms of the Indiana Fever. I think the signing of Natasha Howard is huge. She fits the system beautifully. She is a terrific rim runner, and we know Caitlin Clark is one of the best get-ahead passers in the WNBA.
Some questioned whether Howard, now in her early 30s, could still dominate. But they clearly weren't watching her last season in Dallas, where she racked up 17.6 points, 6.7 rebounds, and 2.9 assists per game, all while shooting nearly 46% from the floor. That's elite by any standard and proof she's far from slowing down.
She's also outstanding in the pick and roll. She is a floor spacer, and she brings experience. The Indiana Fever made the playoffs last year for the first time since 2016, and in that first game, none of their starters had any playoff experience. Natasha Howard has over 50 games of playoff experience, 3-time WNBA champion. She fits them beautifully.
What really turns heads is her lockdown defense. Howard's resume includes a Defensive Player of the Year award, and she hasn't lost a step since. She can protect the paint, chase down boards, and still sprint the floor for breakaway buckets. Think of her as a Swiss Army knife, always ready to slice through whatever challenge an opponent throws at her.
Natasha Howard throws it right up. Oh! And then raised this kidney! Oh! Defensive Player of the Year in the WNBA! You should just lock it up! John can't give it to him, and right there is Howard with a block. Another one rejected by Howard.
And that's just scratching the surface. Howard also boasts 3 WNBA championships, giving her more playoff experience than the rest of the Fever roster put together. Imagine the value of that savvy, especially for someone like Caitlin Clark, who craves deep postseason runs. Plus, Howard can punish teams from behind the arc. Think about it, a top-tier defender who can also stretch the floor, leaving the paint wide open for Aaliyah Boston to dominate. Opponents? They'll be losing sleep trying to plan for this.
They have certainly improved by signing Howard. She, to me, fits their system beautifully as a rim-running stretch 4. We know Caitlin Clark is the best get-ahead passer in the WNBA right now. Howard will run the floor. Howard is outstanding in the pick and roll. We saw how good she was doing that when she was in Seattle. What else does she bring? A massive amount of experience.
And speaking of Boston, pairing her with a seasoned star like Howard accelerates her growth in real time. This front court duo is poised to terrorize opponents on both ends of the floor. Even more important, Howard isn't just another piece. She's a catalyst, reshaping how the Fever approach every game. With her on board, Indiana isn't merely up and coming. They're competing to win it all, right now.
Remember, all the conversation for Indiana going into the playoffs last year, first time they'd made it since 2016, was how little playoff experience they had. You see, now they have 33 games. In that first playoff game against the Connecticut Sun this past season, they had 0 playoff experience from their starting 5. Howard brings playoff experience. She's won 3 championships with both Minnesota and Seattle. So to me, she's a huge, huge piece for them.
Just when the league thought Indiana was finished dealing, they stunned everyone with another headline-grabbing trade. NaLyssa Smith, once seen as the team's front court future, was shipped out, along with the 8th pick in 2025. Fans were baffled until the details emerged. The Fever acquired Sophie Cunningham and the 19th pick in return. Cunningham isn't just any wing. She's a fierce competitor who can defend multiple positions, get buckets off the dribble, and fire away from deep at nearly 38%. That's the kind of sniper who can catapult a team from...
Give up NaLyssa Smith and the 8th pick to Dallas. They get Sophie Cunningham and the 19th pick. So clearly, they do, whoever it is that is in with the number 8th pick, whoever it was at number 8, they were like, you know what, we don't really care, and they're getting a 2nd round pick. So my guess is that Sophie Cunningham, as far as I'm aware, is on a...
Cunningham's reputation goes beyond her shooting stroke. She's the team's new enforcer. If you drive the lane, expect a bump. It's exactly the kind of toughness Indiana lacked. With Cunningham patrolling the perimeter and Howard anchoring the paint, the Fever have morphed from a team folks pushed around to one that sets the tone physically. That's the culture shift they needed.
Never going to happen. Because, you know, Sophie Cunningham works so much with the Phoenix Suns that, like, she would be there. But I do have to say, Sophie Cunningham is a very, very, very...
Statistically, Cunningham's 8.4 points, 3.9 rebounds, and 2.0 assists might look modest on the surface, but those numbers speak to her versatility. She's not a one-dimensional scorer. She contributes in nearly every phase of the game. For the Fever, that's pure gold, especially now that they're piecing together a deep, flexible rotation.
They possibly can, but I think that Indiana had to kind of pay a little to get rid of Nalissa Smith. As sad as that sounds, and boy, did they.
Some might question sending Smith plus a prime draft pick out the door. But considering her underwhelming 2024 and the looming forward logjam, with Howard on board, a move was inevitable. Sometimes you surrender something good to secure something game-changing, and that's precisely what this trade accomplishes. It's a cultural pivot, a loud declaration that the Fever refuse to linger in mediocrity. They're taking bold steps to win now. So how does this shake up the title race? Let's just say the Fever have gone from long shot to legitimate threat. Between Clark orchestrating the offense, Boston commanding the middle, Howard's playoff pedigree, and Cunningham's edge, Indiana can now match up with the league's best on multiple fronts. Opponents, they'll need a rock-solid game plan to stand a chance. As the Fever welcome these newcomers, fans kept asking, what about Kelsey Mitchell, the franchise's cornerstone? A free agent in high demand, Mitchell could have walked away. Without her, Indiana's rebuild would have lost its emotional core. Luckily, the Fever weren't about to let that happen.
First of all, thanks for being here. Thanks for showing Kelsey how important she is to the Indiana Fever.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, so everything about Kelsey Mitchell is core, right? Core values, her core basketball, everything about her is what we're about. And so there was no way she was going anywhere else but the Indiana Fever. So this is a great day for our franchise. It starts with her. Her legacy continues in an Indiana jersey, and we're off to the races now. So,
faced with the choice to stay or pursue a bigger spotlight, Mitchell opted to stay loyal, and she did so with an emphatic message.
Anything you want to say?
No pressure. I just want to say thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Indiana has been my second home since I went pro, so this is the only city I know, and so to see you guys open your arms up to me, I kind of remember every employee I run into. Whether you're a janitor, camera person, I like to be that person, and so that was a big part of me coming back because I got a chance to meet really great people.
Imagine the roar of the crowd as she announced her return, grinning from ear to ear. The bond between Mitchell, her fans, and her new star teammates was palpable, signaling that something special is brewing in Indiana.
Then I met one of the greatest people in the world, Caitlin Clark, who just ran the basketball world. So I think together we hope to make you guys proud. We hope to make you guys feel like you're a part of our success and our journey. And I'm here. Let's do this.
Look at the stats. 19.2 points per game, nearly 47% from the floor, and a blistering 40% from distance. Those aren't just good numbers, they're the best of Mitchell's career, and she's not even close to done. By re-signing, she's betting on the Fever's future and staking her claim on a higher goal than merely playoff appearances. She wants a championship, and she's not shy about it.
I'm a Fever girl again. I'm a Fever girl. I'm excited. Kind of missed this court. Yeah, I'm a Fever girl again. A lot of went into this decision based on what I needed for myself and obviously for my family and my friends. And Indy is a second home, so I thought I'd give this thing a go.
The Fever's brass never doubted Mitchell's significance. President Kelly Krause put it plainly, she's been our backbone for years and we're overjoyed she's returning. That's not idle praise, it's a rallying cry. With Mitchell, Clark, Howard, Boston, and Cunningham rolling out together, and talents like Hull and Berger backing them up, Indiana suddenly looks like a squad that can inflict serious damage and haunt every opposing coach's dreams. But wait, Indiana's front office may not be done dealing. Whispers suggest they've got enough cap space to add yet another near-max talent, which could push them from playoff contenders to outright favorites. And that's not the only surprise. Rumor has it Mitchell is honing a brand new skill set this offseason. Whether it's a refined jumper, improved handles, or something else entirely, one thing is sure, she's determined to raise her game even higher. The Fever aren't just constructing a playoff roster, they're laying the groundwork for a dynasty. Climbing from a 5-win season to legitimate title contention in just 2 years is more than a rebuild. It's a full-on basketball revolution. With Clark at the helm and a star-stacked lineup featuring Howard, Cunningham, Boston, and Mitchell, Indiana is poised to shake the WNBA's foundations. And here's the kicker. They might still add another big name. One thing's certain, the Fever aren't underdogs anymore. They're the squad everyone else must prepare for. So, any thoughts on all of this? Share your thoughts in the comments, tap that subscribe button, and stay tuned for every twist and turn this season has in store.